This is my love letter to the last great compact phone. I recently sold my iPhone 17 Pro Max for a 4-year-old iPhone 13 mini. Why? Beauty. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. I remember holding the very capable iPhone 17 Pro Max in my hand for the first time and thinking, this is not beautiful. In contrast to the tiny iPhone 5S I held in my hand just weeks after my purchase, I realized I made a mistake. So what happened? Well, I found myself in a cafe here in Dublin, and on the stand they had an iPhone 5S or Generation 1 SE. They used it to take calls and it still worked. I asked if I could hold it. Go ahead, the barista said. My reaction to holding that phone is still palpable today. I can't describe how beautiful I thought it was. After all, my first iPhone was the 6S Plus. Yes, the Plus. And this was my mistake. I always bought the biggest and what I thought was the best phone. But holding the 5S compared to my gigantic iPhone, I knew in that moment I was wrong all along. Realistically, the 5S or the SE Generation 1 cannot be used today without security and usability concerns. And so, enter the iPhone 13 mini, arguably the wrong name for this phone. It was introduced at the September 2021 Apple event as the AND phone, the 13 AND mini. In fact, during the 13 unveil, it was mentioned 4 times and shown perhaps only once. Here it is in its beautiful form. Here you can see it's geometrically more balanced, in my opinion, than the 13 from the back. And, by the way, this is the same for the screen icons. iOS was designed for a 5.4 inch screen, just expanded for a larger screen. Yuck! The iPhone mini is a thing in beauty, and so I had to have it. But the iPhone mini, worst name ever. If anything, these phones should have been called the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 Plus. Anyway, the iPhone mini is not just a small phone, and it's not a mini. I argue that it's the final evolution of the iPhone 5. It is the successor of the last phone Steve Jobs worked on. When I received my iPhone 13 mini, I remarked on how small it was. It just fit in the palm of my hand. And I'm going to use the word beautiful again and again. I'm not going to say that it's beautiful or functional even for a tiny phone, because this is the perfect form factor for a phone, period. You know, I was watching an old clip of Jony Ive talking about the Apple design philosophy, and he spoke about how things are built with a sense of carelessness. He said that the users can sense the care put into an object, even if they can't describe it. Holding an iPhone mini after a month, that is exactly how I feel. So what drove me back to an Ive form factor was the realization that the word premium, as defined in the video, the excellent video, The Death of the Premium Apple Design, has evolved. Narrator has explained that we've moved away from aesthetic minimalism that Jony Ive was obsessed with to a new sort of functional minimalism. And I think he argues that the iPhone Pro series now gives this sense of it being very functional, and that's, you know, psychologically pleasing. And that's what they seem to be prioritizing. But in my feeling is I prefer the jewelry-like finish of the iPhone 5. So by choosing the mini, I'm reclaiming the material honesty I've been talking about. So do I miss the big screen? No, like I said, the mini is a highly capable phone. And yes, one of the reasons I originally bought this, besides beauty, is I thought a smaller phone would be less conducive for scrolling, watching videos, etc. But this is not the case, and I will discuss this in another video. The screen size isn't even mini. What it is actually is the perfect size. Just look at this ad from 13 years ago.
Your thumb. It goes from here to here. This bigger screen goes from here to here. A dazzling display of common sense. Pretty sure it's the common sense thing.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's a common sense thing too. So after 30 days, how's the battery? Well, now, who has the best battery comparisons? I don't know, but Mr. Who's boss is up there. And for his tests on the 13 mini, it lasted 6 hours and 26 minutes. Caveat. My phone was 100% capacity at 30 days ago, and I'm getting 4 hours, just under 4 hours on screen time. But my battery has gone from 100% battery capacity to 94% in 30 days. Likely, this is calendar aging, or my phone came with a new but cheap battery replacement. So, what does this mean for me? Well, if you look at my usage, I'm typically using 120% of my battery per day, and you've guessed it, that means I need to charge it. And is that a problem? So far, no. I did need to change my behavior a little. If I needed to head out, I planned ahead and topped up my phone beforehand. If I needed navigation, I'm typically driving, so I plug in. And if I'm walking or cycling, I do it the old-fashioned way, memorize the route and use it for the last few hundred meters. You know, you adapt. I think with the latest Bionic chip, Apple's C-Series modem, the packaging of the components and a silicon carbon battery, this could easily be overcome if Apple released this phone again in 2026. Imagine an iPhone 18 mini. But I wish they would call it the 18 and the other one Plus, or call it the 18 SE, anything with the mini. So performance. Does the A15 Bionic chip feel like a relic, or is it still a beast? Remember, I came from a 17 Pro Max, so what's the verdict? In my opinion, it's a beast. Really, you say? But yes, because, and I was shocked. This would have been a deal breaker. This would have been a deal breaker. But in daily use, this phone performs. Every app works perfectly, including AI, and I feel no limitation except for the battery. Even the 60 Hz screen isn't a deal breaker, which surprised me because when I had the Max, I turned it to 60 Hz in preparation for the Mini and promptly switched it back. So what's happening? Well, the screen is shorter and smaller. Seriously, that's it. There is simply less scrolling and less screen real estate for you to notice it's a 60 Hz panel, at least in my experience. Now moving on to cameras. On the iPhone 17 Pro, you're looking at a triple 48 megapixel system. The iPhone Mini 13 uses dual 12 megapixel, but still the sensor supports sensor shift stabilization, smart HDR, 4K Dolby Vision and cinematic mode. But still, on paper, the 13 Mini shouldn't be able to keep up with the 17 Pro. Now with the 17 Pro, I appreciate the incredible consistency moving from 0.5x to 8x. Like every photo was really, really good and really consistent from any lens. You have to be a bit more intentional with the 13 Mini, but not nearly as much as I thought. And for my life right now, the 13 Mini is good enough. I don't feel like I'm missing any moments, and just look at this incredible photo I took. And I'm filming this right now on the front facing camera in 4K. And as I said, this phone is highly, highly capable and beautiful. So what's the verdict? I originally bought this as a secondary phone. I thought it was a secondary phone. So in closing, is it a secondary phone or a main driver? For me, it absolutely is a main phone. I actually had this alongside the iPhone Max for a while, and I struggled deciding which one to keep or whether to keep both. And in the end, I sold the Max because this works perfectly as a daily driver. Actually, the real question is, should Apple bring the Mini back? Or as Marcus Brownlee said in his correctly predicted in his excellent "Small Phones Are Dead and Why We Killed Them." After all, Apple tried this for 2 years before killing it. And the last flagship phone or the market, was the Asus Zenfone, and that was killed. So do I need to accept that the minimum screen size is 6.1, 6.3 inches? Even after all that, I think this should. And 2026 or 2027 will be the right time. That's when we're likely to see carbon silicon battery technology arrive to iPhones. They said the Mini was discontinued due to poor sales. About 5% for the iPhone 12 Mini and roughly 3% for the iPhone 13 Mini. But as I mentioned earlier, Apple positioned this as an "and" phone instead of the main model. And in my opinion, that was a strategic mistake. The name Mini irks me a little. The 12 Mini shouldn't be called a Mini at all. It could have simply been called the iPhone 12 and the larger model branded as a Plus. Looking back at the lineup, such a naming convention might have worked with the iPhone 11, with the 5.4 inch as the standard model and the 6.1 as the Plus. Branding the 6.1 inch as the Plus model doesn't seem like such a stretch when you remember this fact. The original iPhone 6 Plus had a 5.5 inch display, only 0.1 inches larger than a Mini. Did you know that? Anyway, I'll do a deeper dive into iPhone screen sizes in another video, so subscribe if you want to see that. By 2027, Apple could build an incredible compact phone, likely with an A20 chip, maybe on 2nm process, with Apple's own C-Series modem, fully controlled architecture, eSIM only, and new battery technology. Imagine a premium compact device with titanium or stainless steel bands, polished chamfered edges like the iPhone 5, and a dual camera system, either wide and ultra wide or even wide and telephoto. Personally, I'd welcome a telephoto. Pair that with the beautiful ergonomic design and modern battery technology. With carbon silicon batteries, vision chips, Apple's own modem, the improvement in the internal architecture making more room for the battery, you could end up with an absolute beast of a phone that still fits comfortably in your pocket and is the perfect size, I argue, for a phone. 5.4 inches is not mini, guys. It's almost the same size as the original Plus phones. It's small enough that you can reach every corner of the phone with your thumb, and it's big enough to be a highly capable phone for watching videos if you want. Thank you, and leave your comments if you agree with me or disagree. Bye bye.